This episode of the Young and Pruitt podcast is brought to you by Carpy's Custom Screen Printing. If you need labels, t-shirts, banners, race car graphics, window stickers, and anything else in between, give our buddies over at Carpy's a call. Or you can email them at sales@carpys.com. You can also find them on Twitter and Instagram. Twitter, hit them up at Carpys_CO. Or Instagram, it's at Carpys. And you can also look them up on their website, www.carpys.com. Give them a holler, tell them what you need, and they'll come up with a perfect product for you.
And once you are done shopping at Carpy's, be sure to head over to youngandpruitt.com, where you can find every single episode of this podcast. Ones like Bobby Allison, Joey Knuckles, Spencer Davis, and all the long line of Timmy Petcheck episodes. You can check out Layla's blog. You can head over to our fan forum, create a membership, join the discussion, and talk about anything you want. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube. Be sure to hit us up a nice review. Go over on Twitter, Instagram, at Young and Pruitt on both. This episode, we are joined by Anthony Alfredo. Last year, he drove a late model car for a little team known as JRM. And for those who have been living under a rock, that team is owned by Dale Earnhardt Jr. He has now moved on and started working his way up through the series, K&N Series, ARCA Series, which is one of the same now? I don't know. We're going to have to see how that turns out. But super nice kid, super humble. Kid's still in college. And we talk about that, and we talk about some of the other things that he used to drive, or should I say operate. Enjoy. Good? All good. Anthony, thank you for coming on, sir. How'd you get your start in racing? I mean, you just basically got off the school bus. You're still going to UNC Charlotte, right? You're taking a degree in engineering, you were saying?
Yeah, I'm a freshman there in the construction management program. So about to finish my freshman year. Got a couple more weeks left until I'm done with finals. It's kind of hard to balance the two in racing. But I started racing. I ran go-karts. I started when I was about 5 years old and just did nothing serious, kind of like the indoor stuff you could go to Victory Lane or any of those places and go do. My brother and sister actually did it with me also. We just kind of had fun and did that a little bit, ran some of the leagues they had. And I got out of it because I was playing a lot of other sports like football and lacrosse. And I decided I just wanted to just focus on those things and some of my hobbies. I was always big into snowboarding and skateboarding, and I kind of always had my hands in everything, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I was always doing that, and then I was able to start playing lacrosse more, and I decided I wanted to play that full time, so I played that all year round, every season, even indoor in the winter. And then when I turned 15, I was like, why did I stop racing? Because I always had watched it. I was always a fan. That's how I kind of discovered it in the first place, was watching it with my dad on TV, and he'd always gone to some races. And my first race I went to was the Daytona 500 in 2012. So I was always a fan, but I'd never really got into it that much. So I was like, I miss that a lot. And, I really enjoyed go-karting. Like, why not try to, do some short track racing or something, or try to get into it and just see how it goes, get my feet wet a little bit. And I was able to test the Legend car at home up at Bethel Motor Speedway in New York. And I ran, it was the end of the year, end of 2014, so I only got to run 2 or 3 races at the track. Mm-hmm. And then that's what brought me here, was they have winter heat at Charlotte Motor Speedway and winter nationals in Orlando, Florida. So I ran the 2 of those. So by the end of that, I had ran probably 12 Legend car races or so, and that's it. And then an opportunity arose where I was able to go test a limited late model with Lee Falk Racing, who's based out of Denver, North Carolina. Mm-hmm. So I went and did that, and that went really well. And I was able to run about 16 races or 18 races with them in 2015, and won my first race in my 8th full-size stock car start, and we had a good year. And then I raced for them again in 2016 in mostly limited late model competition and a few late model stock car starts, and we won a touring series limited late model championship. And then I got some recognition and was able to meet with some of the people over at Junior Motorsports and join their late model program last year. So I was able to compete full-time in the Cars Tour alongside their veteran late model driver, Josh Berry, and he took me under his wing and helped me out, and I got to work with their they're a great group of people at their late model program and obviously at the Xfinity shop and all that good stuff. So that was a huge opportunity for me, not just because of the exposure and everything, but just to learn from those people and just keep getting better and compete in a series as competitive as the Cars Tour was really beneficial for me as a driver. So by the end of the year, we actually won 3 races. The Cars Tour had twin 75-lap races at Hickory one night early in the year. It was like our 3rd race weekend, and we swept them. We won both of them in the same night, which is like crazy. It was really awesome. Probably, well, they were my first late model stock car wins, and one of those nights you never forget, And later in the year, we went to the Fall Brawl there and won that, the big 200-lapper there. And so we had those 3 wins and a lot of second-place finishes, third places, and we also finished second in the Cars Tour Championship standings to Josh Berry, who's their full-time. He's been racing for them for a long time. So it was Junior Motorsports 1-2 in the Cars Tour points, which was a big deal, and obviously finishing second in the points to someone as experienced Josh Berry is nothing to be ashamed of. Obviously, I'm never satisfied. I wish I won it, but and that's where it led me to where I am now with MDM Motorsports. We're competing full time in the K&N Pro Series East this season, and trying to work out some more deals and find some new partners and be able to make a few more starts in the ARCA Racing Series to get some more experience at other tracks and maybe a couple mile and a halves to just better prepare me for what might come next for me.
That was a lot.
Yeah.
So I just gave you I just laid it all.
No, that was great. Well,
that's fine.
What I was getting at is so essentially your first big race was 2012 at Daytona, and here we are in 2018, and you're running like Bristol, like cup tracks, stuff you haven't been that familiarized with, but you're certainly progressing very quickly to that level. What do you think is the difference to make you so successful so quickly versus everybody else in that class?
I've just been very fortunate to meet a lot of great people and have the ability to drive for teams that have not only great equipment but just very knowledgeable crew members and crew chiefs. And I've learned a lot from all those people who are so experienced. Like I said, when I was driving for Lee Falk Racing, Lee Falk and his son Michael Falk have been around for such a long time, have been doing their developmental program, and I feel that helped me kind of learn a lot of the basics, and they taught me all I knew about stock car racing before moving to Junior Motorsports, where I had a little bit more of experience and was able to go compete and win races right out of the gate. And working with someone as talented as Josh Berry, who's been doing it for so long, taught me a lot in that sense also. And I don't take it for granted at all, because I know there's a lot of people who aren't as fortunate as me at this point in my career, at my age. So that's why I try to make the most of it. And just, like I said, I'm a full-time college student, and obviously doing that and racing full-time is very difficult. But I know I'm fortunate to do both of those things, get a college education and race, and that's why, like I said, just try to make the most of it. When I was with Junior Motorsports, I wasn't just in the shop and trying to get better off the track that way. I actually spent a lot of time in their front offices at the Xfinity shop and worked with the marketing department, because I was like, I want to do is, take advantage of this opportunity in every way I can. And if I could learn more about, the marketing, a completely different end of the business and the industry than just driving the race car. And, I do the same with MDM, just by always being at the shop as much as I can. Unfortunately, it's only about 3 times a week now because of school, but I go there and just try to spend time with my crew and build that chemistry and also learn from them, because I think just as much as you can know is going to help you just be that much better.
How big is the holy shit factor when you're racing with JRM across your chest?
It was crazy the first time. I mean, especially when we won that early in the year, it was, sometimes when that happens, it makes you a little nervous, because there's a lot of people who, you may win early and it's, you got put in
the flash in the pan.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but I mean, it was like something clicked, and from there we were just running up front every week. The other Cars Tour race at Hickory, the Throwback 276, which is a huge event, they ended up having. We finished second in that, almost won it. Finished second to Josh in the Bobby Isaac, then won the Fall Brawl. Had a really good run going in the Myrtle Beach 400, which is probably the second biggest race of the year, second to Martinsville. And our motor blew up with about 75 to go or something. Josh ended up winning that one. But we just had so many strong runs, and working with those people, was fortunate to build so many great relationships with a lot of people who work there. Kelly Earnhardt, L.W. Miller, and Dale was always really cool as well. He's busy with his retirement, and obviously announcing that he's having a kid soon, who I think is due any day now. But all those people were just super welcoming, and they always talk about it's a family there. It's not just a race team, and it was. I mean, they took me in, and I learned so much from working with them.
And those series that is ultra competitive.
You can't call those minor leagues.
Yeah, that is not. The cars are so close together, you can't get away. So there's a lot of side-by-side stuff. The tracks are always a little bitty, so they're all right on top of each other, and tempers fly, and you got to kind of move your way around. And to be so new at it and to jump in and Lauren called it like the it factor.
Yeah.
You really can't call what it is, but there's guys that have it and there's guys that don't. And it seems like you're one of those guys that have it and
really appreciate
kind of found something that you're good at.
Thank you.
Basically, I was that way with Jack and race cars. I finally found something that I was good at and took it as far as I could, but that's really cool because there's a lot of drivers. Some of them hang out in the body shop. Some of them hang out in different parts of the shops. But from being in a shop on a race team and seeing the drivers around, that's big. That means that guy cares. So he's not there just to put on the fire suit and hold the wheel. That really speaks bounds to the guy that's sitting there working well over 40 hours a week, not seeing his family, traveling all the time. And then when they see you take the time of day to not only just come in and say hi and just, and to see how the guys are doing, but to come in and actually try to learn what they're doing. You're watching them. Okay, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And then to be there. And I don't even know if you ask questions, but if you're asking questions, trying to learn about it, that's big. And I know that he really, really respects you from being up in the marketing thing. Because that's
unheard of. I mean,
and that's his
having
deal.
a driver who can play that side of the game and understand it and then play that side of the game, I think is going to benefit you a million times over as your career moves forward. Because getting to that next step is all about your partners and how you treat them, even for the most minute stuff, is going to be the difference maker between you and the next guy who's hounding them. Because there's always going to be somebody going after them. So as long as you're their guy, it's going to benefit you well. I remember Brian Scott always came to the shop. Mm-hmm. Sam Hornish Jr. was always at the race shop. And, these are guys with families and kids, and they still took time to come to the race shop.
They bring their kids in. They bring their whole families in.
So to hear you doing that now, it's very refreshing. Like everybody was so worried. Like Matt Kenseth, retired, unretired. Tony Stewart's gone. Jeff Gordon's gone. Dale Earnhardt Jr. They're gone.
Carl
Edwards. And everybody was so worried about the youth movement, but really, we've got the cream of the crop here. There's a ton of young guys who are coming in and doing all the right things, and you're doing that before you even have any limelight on you. So that's pretty cool.
Thank you.
To add to that, the best part about this is the new wave of drivers. They get social media. You guys know.
Yes.
That might be how Blaney's able to do the things that he's doing, how Bubba's able to do the stuff that they do, because they always got their phones up. Bubba started to do the post-race deal where he gets out of the car and he's sitting in his RV, still has his fire suit on, and he goes Facebook Live and sits there and talks to everybody. That's big. You're getting that familiarity and people see you as genuine and approachable. But that's really good because that's why we did this. That's why he's on the other side of the sport. He's the management side. I'm more of the pit crew and race side. So it's the two halves that really make it.
We're looking at a future owner driver right here. That's what this is.
Why the construction engineering deal?
My dad's a site development and commercial builder back home in New York. So, I'm from Connecticut, but does work in that area. So my whole life growing up, I always tell people this. At this point in my career, I'm probably just passing the amount of seat time I have on heavy equipment like excavators and bulldozers that I do in a race car. The first time I operated an excavator alone was when I was 5 years old, and I photographic proof. But when I was 3 or 4, I was on my dad's lap doing the controls, and so I had done that my whole life, and that's mostly what I knew about. And my dad's and my mom too. My parents always just whatever you want to do, we fully support you. And if there's something you love, just like this racing thing, But if I don't race, I picture myself doing what my dad does. And my dad always says, don't do what I do because you feel like you have to or because, you've always been around me. And I'm like, honestly, Dad, I'm like, I really like what you do. If racing's my passion and that's what I want to pursue. But if it doesn't work out, I enjoy what my dad does. I think it's cool. And honestly, construction's, what's building this country. And especially down here in North Carolina, there's so many new developments and all that popping up. There's so much opportunity in that industry.
Yeah, they're getting ready to switch our state tree to the orange barrel. I think here soon, because it's just in the 10 years that I've been here, it's crazy. Exit 23. I lived down there for half the time that I've been here, and I drove down there the other day, had a doctor's appointment, and I can't recognize that. There's so much buildup down there. Like, you need to go back down there, because he used to live there too. They got so much shit everywhere. Like, exit 23 used to be like the quiet little exit, and now they're trying to widen 77 and stuff like that. But you driving construction equipment, that kind of puts a new twist on the term plowing.
Yeah, I've done it all: topsoil piles, snow, all that. But
what's the biggest piece of equipment you've driven, or is it driven, or is it operated?
It's operated. I mean, I guess it depends. I'd say operated.
Do you say that you're an excavator driver or excavator operator?
Operator. Yeah, you're an operator.
Yeah, because you're not doing much driving, I guess. You're just moving forward.
I'm not sure. I mean, probably a PC 300 Komatsu excavator, which, I mean, if you look it up, it's pretty massive.
So is that like a front end loader? Or
it's an excavator. With the boom on it.
The arm and the bucket?
Yep.
The bucket that's probably bigger than this room?
Yeah, 300's got a big bucket on. Actually, no, that is not true. That is not the largest. The largest is a Moxie dump truck. I don't know if you know what that is, but they're like the gigantic.
That's the one
steel dump trucks.
It has to have like spotters because the driver can't see around the thing.
You can see. You just gotta. Yeah, it's tricky, but you can see. They've got it articulates like a wheel loader, but it's like a dump truck, and it's got the two axles in the back.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's got the huge dump body on it. They're really large. So with racing now and school.
For reference.
Yeah, there you go. I've been gone a lot because of school and racing, but every summer, as soon as school ended, I was working for my dad every summer since I was 12 years old. Mm-hmm. So, and I always went to work with him or whatever, but when I was 12 is when I started like full-fledged working, like go to the site with the guys and like do all that stuff. So there was one summer where it was like a month straight, I was just running the Moxie every day. And I was like so addicted to it. Like, you track your loads because you got to, at the end of the day, when you put in your job sheet, you got to put in how many loads you made. Mm-hmm. And me and the operator, I'd always tell him, like, we're at 39. We got to get 40. We got to get 40. 8-hour day, I made 40 loads. I got home that night. I'm like, Dad, I made 40 loads today. And he couldn't believe it. He's like, that's awesome. We're moving some serious earth right there.
Yeah, so you can even drive those things fast.
Yeah.
It's fast as everything he drives.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I mean, being the boss's son, you always get the jokes and stuff like that. It's challenging sometimes, but that's when you got to put in the work and show them that you're not.
They're taking all their frustrations out on you. So when you're out there, you're the one that's catching.
Yeah, I didn't get any benefit or luxuries being the boss's son. When I started 12 years old, I was in the trenches with shoveling dirt in the trenches and doing all that stuff, and I worked my way up to where I was. I could always operate a machine. My dad knew that, but he wasn't just going to send me out there and put me on it. I had to start just like everyone else. Man. So I worked my way up, and now I'm allowed to operate an excavator on the job site and stuff. I earned it.
So were you crushing it in lacrosse too, or is this?
I was pretty good. I always played defense, at the long pole, and then when I played, so I left public high school for online high school going into sophomore year. So I only played high school lacrosse freshman year. But that was the first year I went from defense to long stick midi. So I was like a full field player, but with a long pole. Basically, why I started playing defense is because I just loved hitting people. It was like I played football, and then I found out you could do that in lacrosse too. But it's like lacrosse, kind of like hockey in the air. I know it's not as popular down here.
Yeah, hockey on a field, but I don't know So there's different lengths of poles, and
it's kind of weird. It's one of those sports like you like it or you don't. Honestly, like you're really in there or not. But it's basically full field, and there's 3 positions at each end of the field. So there's attack, which are on the opponent's side of the field trying to score, but they can't cross midfield.
Okay.
And now your defense is with the goalie on the other side of the field. So basically, there's 4 players on that end.
Okay.
And then you have your middies, which can play full field. They can run. So if the opponent comes down to your end, you have your 3 defensemen and the goalie, but the middies come with them to guard the other middies. But then defense and attack can't cross the field. So like when I was playing defense, if I ever got the ball and was carrying it up the field, a middie would have to stay back if I crossed midfield. Because if he went, it would be like over, you know what I mean?
Icing
too many players. Too many players on one side of the field. So that's when I started playing long stick midi. You played full field, but with a long pole. And like on the face-off, you'd run in, and if the other team got the ball, you'd stay in and play defense. That way you had 4 long poles, because having a long pole is a huge advantage, because you can block passes and all that stuff, because you can reach further and poke check and stuff. But if you guys got the ball, typically you'd run off the field and you swap, and you have another short stick come on, because they could be more attack better and stuff like that, and when they're shooting and all that.
So is there rules to how you can pass, like in soccer? Like you can't have, like there has to be someone on defense between you and the goal, or is there anything like that? Any weird stuff like that?
Not really. No, I mean, mostly it's just about the crossing the field part. Like on defense, usually if the middies were already over, you would just throw the ball before you got across midfield and stay back, so you wouldn't have to worry about that.
So as a defensive guy, when you get the ball, you can't go the other way with it, right?
You can carry it up the field. Wait, you mean back towards your end?
Yes. Yeah.
No, you can. You can go wherever you want.
So if you're on defense and you're protecting your goal and you get the ball, can you go all the way down and score, or do you have to pass it and move it around?
Oh, you can if a midi stays back, because you got to keep the 3, like it's basically like you're trading a player.
Yeah,
almost.
midi is interchangeable.
Yeah, you would have to pay attention like crazy.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, well, that's what, like, every time you run up the field, you're yelling, like, midi back, like, tell them to stay, because if they go, then you get a penalty in the, turnover. But
so can you, I know nothing about lacrosse, so if some of these questions sound silly. So how many steps can you take before you got to pass it?
As many as you want.
You can just take off running with it?
Yeah. Okay. You're just cradling the ball,
but people can hit you and tackle you with it.
You can't tackle, but you can body check.
You can check them?
You can body check them hard enough till they hit the ground.
Yeah, because I know you're not wearing helmets.
Yeah, but they're really strict about cross-checking and stuff, because people get really hurt. Like, if your hands are far apart and you check them like that with the stick.
Oh, yeah, it's a clothesline with a damn stick.
But, so then they made it, your hands had to be, like, together, really close, or really close together, just to prevent that
Can you touch it with your hands?
No. Well, actually, it is kind of like soccer, because I think like in some cases, I guess you could like knock it down with your hand, like to get it back on the ground. But no one would do that, because you can catch it with your stick. It's easier. Like, I mean, you could never catch it with your hand; it would hurt.
Yeah,
because people rip.
I actually have a lacrosse ball, but I use it for like mobility stuff. I I lay on it and roll around on it, because it's like a really hard tennis ball.
Yeah, they're heavy.
So that's like, I use it to work out sore muscles. I couldn't imagine, like, how fast does that thing come off the end of the pole?
I mean, I know like college and pros shoot like just over 100 miles an hour. In high school, there's kids who shoot like 90, and I've been hit right on the thigh, like upper thigh, and it was one of the most painful things ever. I'm telling you,
a nice long-term bruise.
The bruise was so big you wouldn't believe it. I mean, like 6 inches in diameter, probably.
So what's the goalie wearing?
They normally, you would think they'd wear shin guards and everything, because when they shoot low, if you can't like block it with your stick, because the head on their stick is very large, so they can block the ball easier.
Okay, so they got like a catcher's mitt, or
just the stick.
Oh,
with a large, the head is the part with the mesh in it, with the pocket. So those are really large, so they could block it all and everything, and they're usually like chest protectors and all that's like thicker and everything, because they're getting hit with balls at 90 miles an hour. But our goalie in high school and a lot of the other kids, they never wore shin guards. Like, I've seen him just stick his leg out to block it and just take it right in the shin. And I look at him like, are you nuts? Nope. Like, how do you not break your shin? I had no idea how, but it just bounced right off it.
Could you imagine taking one of those balls in the neck?
Dude, I could never be a goalie. I'm too scared. If I was, I'd be the one rolled with bubble wrap all around me and stuff, like barely walk out in the 100%, field.
100%, yeah.
Like, I can't imagine that. Like, men's Olympic volleyball scares me. Like, the way that they spike that ball and how fast that thing goes, I'm like, no. And I ran out in front of cars. Would not do that. The lacrosse thing, nah. Like, I don't even...
You've been hit by race cars twice in the last year, and the men's volleyball scares you.
Yes,
I feel like
does.
this is a little dramatic.
I just see my face getting exploded when they spike the ball and me putting my hands up and missing, and it just hits me in the face. And my
Have
face
a nice Wilson imprint for the rest of your life.
My instant blood out of my nose. But yeah, so to go from that and have the construction deal and then just to pick up, like, that's, what do you think that your natural talents are to be able to pick up racing so fast?
I'm not sure. I just
It's okay. You can talk about yourself. It's fine.
well, that's one thing. Is I just never. I'm just always. Honestly, I just always try my best, try to be better, and learn from all my surroundings, the people around me. Like when you were mentioning how competitive the Cars Tour is, there's other young racers who use that as a stepping stone. But I mean, when you race in that series, there's so many late model veterans who are so good, and you go to all these tracks that are new to you. And I would always just try to learn from them, and then eventually you could beat those guys. And I think I think I have ability to learn things pretty quickly, and I have a willingness to learn. I'm always I'm always open to people critiquing me just because I want to be better. I'm not. You don't have to soften things up to tell me. You can tell me like it is, whatever. Just because I'm trying to be the best that I can be. I know I'm not perfect, and I'm always going to get better. And I'm not even close to where I want to be in my career yet. Although I know I'm very fortunate to be where I'm at. But that's why I'm just try to take advantage of every opportunity, and I always try to learn, and I think that's probably the biggest thing, because if you can, learning, you're going to get better. If you can learn from the other competitors, or your crew chiefs telling you stuff, or fellow racers you're learning from, just from talking to them and asking questions. And then as far as being in the car, just driving in itself, I'm not really sure. I think I picked up on it kind of quick. But I don't know, maybe operating equipment might have something to do with it, honestly.
Coordination.
But yeah, maybe. I always play video games and stuff, so maybe. There you go, Mom. I knew it'd pay off.
That's cool. So yeah, it seems like your ability to learn on the fly, learn quickly, that's a big thing because you haven't really been doing it that long. But your ability to absorb information and not get selfish, to actually to listen, and that's a big thing. And we just talked about it last time, is the ability to relay to the crew chief what you need and what you want done to the car. So do you like a looser car? Do you like a little bit tighter?
Yeah, I mean, neutral's always the best, but it's almost impossible to ever have a neutral race car. I think it is impossible almost. But
at least for so many laps.
It's honestly kind of weird. It depends where I'm at. You typically a little bit tighter, a little bit more on the snug side. But like I said, it kind of depends at the track you're at, because sometimes the groove you're running will change what the car's doing. There's a lot of racetracks where you can run the top groove, but the bottom's preferred. But if you're too loose, you can just move up, and it kind of tightens the car up a little bit, or you have less wheel in it, so it's not getting as loose. There's kind of a lot you could do. But yeah, I mean, for me, like relaying information, there comes a point, especially since I don't have that much experience, really. There comes a point where sometimes you don't know. They change something, and he's like, well, you think that was better? You think that was worse? And sometimes it's faster, but it didn't feel better. Or sometimes it feels better, but it was a little bit slower. And sometimes you just come on the radio, and you're like, honestly, like, I'm not sure, and you just got to learn. And that's why, I always try to ask what changes were made. Because if they change a spring or shock or something like that, or move the track bar, and I go out there and I really like it, I can put that in the memory bank for another track we go to. And usually, I have a lot of knowledgeable crew members around me, and my crew chief Robert Huffman and car chief Bobby Gill. They kind of they're doing what they're doing. They know what to do. But I always like to know anyways. I'm not saying I'm going to be like, oh, change this for me, because they know what they need to change. But I just like to know, because not only does it make you better, but you kind of knowing what those things do. And
you're taking your own notes.
It's an advantage. Yeah, absolutely.
So then ahead of time, you're learning, and that's the best way to do it. Like that, I can see now why someone like Junior could see you being, fit for his car and MDM. Like we talk about MDM a lot, and I mentioned that before. They have it going on. Last year they swept entire weekends. Like one team would win, and they're like, "Hey, how's so and so doing?" "Oh yeah, we won," and then we won. Like the amount of knowledge and the amount of equipment that they have over there is just incredible. So you're kind of a perfect storm to be successful, and I think you're doing all the right things. That you need to do.
I think I remember Josh Berry's Xfinity debut. I think it was 2015 at Richmond. I remember him passing Kyle Busch and him like coming on the radio. Like I was scanning the radio and he's like, I just passed Kyle Busch. Like it was something that like he like it was like, no way, this is a real thing.
Yeah,
And that was the same year you started driving for Lee. 2015, I think.
Josh?
You.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the same year. Yeah.
So what's your favorite place that you've been so far?
Ooh, that's tough. Probably Tri-County. Tri-County Motor
I was
Speedway.
expecting Hickory.
See, okay, it's hard.
That's a tough track.
That's probably a very close second. Tri-County, I went to the Cars Tour opener this year there, and I didn't race, but it's unfortunately the asphalt's coming all apart, and it's so tore up. It's tough to even hold a race there anymore. But that's where my first win was, and I think that place is so awesome because you can like typically in like a long race, like 100 laps or longer, the top's a preferred groove. I mean, like 20 laps in, everyone's running the top. And it's so fun. There's nowhere like it. You can run basically whatever your car is doing. There's a line for it. Like it's so unique. You know, it's nowhere I've been is anywhere close to that. But Hickory is really awesome. It's such a challenging track considering the corners are completely different. but once you get the hang of it, it's one of those places that's so much fun.
Big bump.
Mm-hmm.
So you see yourself being a short track guy as you progress, or?
I'm not sure because I've never been on anything larger than half mile or 5/8 mile. So I'm not sure. I'd like to see what I'm capable of on some of the larger racetracks. We go to a couple 1 miles with the K&N series this year, and like I said earlier, I'd like to try and make some ARCA starts on some of the 1.5 miles or something just to get some experience on those. But as of now, yeah, I'd say so. Bristol, is a short track. It may not really feel like it while you're on it, but it is. And we're pretty good there. Last race, unfortunately, got wrecked, but I went there at the late model last year too, and we did really well. So I don't know, maybe a high speed place like that will kind of help me if I go to a larger racetrack.
What was that experience like?
That was awesome. It was completely different, the late model and the K&N car.
Yeah.
Just because
the weight.
Yeah, I feel like the big cars, like the K&N cars and all that stuff, the Xfinity cars, all those are made for that place. You actually you got to drive the car a little bit more around there and use a little bit of brake. And the radial tires, it's just a better combination. Mm-hmm. The late model, I mean, you put your left foot to the side, you didn't even touch the brake pedal, and you barely cracked the throttle. It was honestly on a bias ply tire too, so it was like out of control, but it was really cool. It was a lot of fun, and I think that helped me going back there just because. Even though the driving style wasn't the same, I'd obviously just the visual and kind of knowing what it feels like.
Yeah, when you're looking you're almost looking at the exit of 4, the exit of 2 as you're coming down the back. Like you're trying to see as far as you can.
Yeah,
because something happens in front of you, you're right there. I mean, I think you kind of didn't you take a pretty good lick.
Yeah, that was the hardest hit I hope for a while. The car is destroyed, and that was a tough one, but. It's pretty amazing, though. I mean, like the way how great a job NASCAR's done with all their implementation of their safety equipment. Both inside the car and out of the car, like the safer barrier and everything is pretty amazing. Because you wouldn't think like, I mean, I was fine. My neck was a little bit sore and stuff the next day, but I mean, you would think. Like when I go back and watch it on video, I'm like, that's crazy. Like, or just some of these wrecks you see at Daytona and stuff. It's amazing that guys are able to walk away and stuff, which is obviously a huge testament to what NASCAR is doing.
The safety has gotten so good that they actually had to make a rule to stop the drivers from walking out onto the race surface and throwing their helmets or attacking cars. Like that's how good the safety's gotten. They had to protect them from themselves. Like that's what's great though, because it's safety that keeps people going, and that's the number one thing, because what we do is very scary and is not exactly safe, but the way that they were able to do that and constantly move it forward to do that, like they haven't stopped. I mean, to be able to walk away from those big licks, that's what's most important.
So what you're saying is this post-accident rage is a luxury.
I mean,
in a way,
yeah.
I mean, you don't.
I personally loved watching Tony Stewart bang his helmet off of Matt Kenseth's car, and it flew like 50 feet in the air.
That was a hell of a throw, too.
Was awesome.
Lefty threw it, hit it right on the hood.
One of the best Bristol moments of.
Yeah, dude. They have that as one of the banners. Where they have the the Bristol moments along the top. That's Tony helmet throw, and it's
it's fantastic. And then wasn't it Texas Motor Speedway was the weekend after. or the few weekends after, and
Was it Jeff Burton and Jeff Gordon?
no, but they said that if someone throws a helmet, what's his name was going to pay that driver like
Oh yeah,
a bonus,
yeah.
a bonus.
Eddie Gossett.
Yes, Eddie Gossett. Yeah, he was. He put up like a reward to the driver who threw a helmet after that because he knew that it was going to bring it like his marketing deal.
He's a boxing promoter who runs a racetrack. That's just a natural talent. Like that's
so
how he promotes.
it's always it's starting to become a thing. People are starting to actually realize about it. But as you walk into the garage, they always have that big poster. And after Martinsville, when Hamlin crashed Elliott, it had Elliott up there and it said the People's Champ. This year it had the Here Come the Young Guns, all the young drivers that were coming in, and then over to the side, it had Kevin Harvick's quote, like, it's cool to be an old guy or something like that, or like the average win of the old guy is like 38 or something like that. So it's like he always
egging it on.
Yeah, he always
enabling.
He always eggs it on, and then they do that crazy. They were really good ones during the driver intros. They'll put their name up on the screen, and then they'll put like most likely to.
Oh yeah, like some superlatives.
Yes.
Oh, it's funny.
Most likely to do this, most likely to do that. And there were some savage ones. I don't remember them off the top of my head, but I just remember going, oh my God, like they actually put that up there? He can really let him have it. But what's your first ARCA race going to be, do you think? I mean, can you say?
Well, nothing's really set in stone now. I know we're trying to go to Gateway. That one's just going to be big for me, not only because it's a 1 mile and with the repave, but there's a K&N race there now. So that's going to help us better prepare us for it because it's about a month before, I believe. So we'll go there, a lot of knowledge, obviously, about the repave and all that, but just kind of about setup because the cars are so similar now. Now the K&N's on a radial tire also. I mean, really, the only difference is the motor, just about. So the
Elmore.
Yeah, so that'll get us a lot of good experience, get me a lot of good valuable seat time there, and hopefully we'll be able to go there and win that race. And but other than that, that's it. Just K&N Series and the full K&N East Series and that ARCA race. But I'm trying to, like I said, work out some things where hopefully I could run a couple 1.5 miles. Kansas is the first one I'm looking at just because that's when the K&N season's over. So I could go there and just I'll have ran with the ARCA race at Gateway 4 1 mile racetracks, and I'll be prepared to go do that and, get some really good experience there. And I think Chicagoland's an open one also that I'd really like to try and fill in. So
That'd be good because Kansas and Chicago are pretty similar. What's the one that you're really looking forward to that's not on the schedule?
Probably Thompson Speedway in Connecticut, just because this is crazy, but the place is an hour and a half from my home, and I've never even seen it in person. So, but besides that, the fact that I get to sleep in my own bed at home, and have literally the only people who've seen me race, I think a couple cousins, and then besides watching it on live stream and all that, is my parents and my brother and my sister. So we're going to have so many people there, just all our family and friends. It's going to be so awesome. And I'm just looking forward to that, to be able to race at home and, have a bunch of familiar faces from, my neck of the woods around. It's going to be really cool. And it looks like a really fun racetrack. And MDM won there last year with Harrison. So hopefully we could go repeat that. And, we have some notes we could take there with us.
Have you ever wanted to drive one of those modifieds?
I have. I totally would. If I had the opportunity. I watched them at Concord last year for the North-South Shootout. They're like Indy cars going around there. It's so awesome.
They're moving around that track.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, he grew up going to Bowman Gray.
I think you guys will race there this year. No?
It's not on the schedule anymore.
Probably for the best.
They got rid of Greenville this year too, and that's why we had almost, I think it was 3 months off from the season opener at New Smyrna to Bristol.
Jeez.
Because they took the Greenville race out, but they added Loudon twice now. So we'll go to Loudon twice, and then the Gateway.
That's good.
So, and Gateway's another combo event like Iowa, where the East and West race together. So that's really cool. You get to see a really good competitive field of cars for both of those races.
I was there last year for the truck race, but they also ran a super late model race there. The racetrack's awesome. Mm-hmm. What month will you guys be there?
At
Gateway?
I believe July or something. I could pull it up.
Sorry.
I could pull it up.
One of the hottest places I've ever been in my life.
It's gonna be
It may be later in the year.
Memphis is the hottest place that I've ever been.
All right, that is what Harrison told me too. Harrison won that race last year, and he's like, dude, when you go to Memphis, he's like, put a helmet fan in the car, dude. You're going to die. It's so hot. And I asked my crew chief, Robert Huffman, when he ran Dash, he was like, oh, that's the hottest place I've ever been. He like, it's over 100 degrees in the morning.
It's so hot that when they walk across the blacktop, you leave footprints.
That sounds disgusting.
Dude, not even joking. Like, you'll just be walking and you'll see people like starting to like fall out. Like they're walking across the desert. All the AC units kill out. They freeze over because they're being overworked. So there's no escape from it. You can't go in the hauler because the AC doesn't work. So then you're like trying to find shade and you're just praying that the sun goes down. And you're right there on the edge between the central time and the East Coast time. So it's light out till like 11 o'clock. Yeah, till like 11 o'clock. So
that's crazy. I was mistaken. The July 27th race is the Iowa race. The Gateway race is August 24th.
That's not going to be any cooler.
The Gateway race is Iowa 24th.
Iowa's just going to be... And I'm not trying to discourage fans from going to these racetracks, but when you're there all day, you know, like...
You show up for the race, you're good.
Yeah. If you show up like an hour before the race, you're fine. And Iowa's just as hot because coming from southern Indiana's known for corn or whatever, but... The further you go out into the cornfield, it's just like a giant heat soak, and the temperature gets hotter the further you go out. So, like, the cornfields around just make it even hotter, and it's just there's no wind, and you just can't get away from it.
It's the worst.
I'm going to go on record. I hate summer. I'm not a summer guy.
Well, I don't think we're going to have it. We're actually going to have Christmas in July this year, I think.
That'd be cool.
Because it snowed in Martinsville, which was...
And Bristol.
Yeah, and Bristol. Shit, yeah. I wasn't there, so I don't really remember it. But
I think they just got snow back at home in Connecticut like last week.
Yeah.
Because I was on the phone with I'll be like, my dad will be like, oh, how's the weather? I'm like, man, it's 80 today. It's awesome. And he's like, oh, it just snowed here. Got another 5 inches.
Yeah, what was it? Wisconsin just got hammered like a week ago.
Yeah.
Like 30 inches.
Yeah, they had the Supercross race up there.
Yeah, and Ty Majeski won it, and he was standing in a snowbank with the trophy I saw. That race at Dell's, is that what you're talking about?
Super that one, and then the Monster Energy dirt bike.
Yeah, I was going to say, damn.
Supercross.
Ty Majeski's riding Supercross too?
Well, yeah. Super late model racing. Threw me off there. Seasons are getting later and later, it seems like.
Yeah, they need to just reset and they just move the months.
I'm a fall guy. That can be fall full time.
Yeah, because that's where Pinterest comes in, and most of Pinterest's male fashion is always in the fall. I came into
work one day wearing it was an interesting outfit that I felt was very coordinated, very well coordinated.
Because he worked on the carpet, he got to show up about an hour or two after everybody else did, because he worked up in the marketing department. So the time that he would show up was when we took our first break. We had the brake truck come up and they'd hit the horn. So we were standing outside, me and a couple other guys eating our snack. And he comes walking up and he had the red flannel. He's got the tattoos on his chest, so it was unbuttoned just a little bit so you could just see the top of the tattoos. He had the corduroy jeans, and then he had the
weathered boots.
The weathered dress boots all tied up. And then I quote, I said, "You're Pinterest as fuck right now." And he just lost it. And because you could take a picture of him and you could put him on Pinterest and it would work.
So I'd be pinned everywhere.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So his fall wardrobe is on point. You need to take some tips from this guy. And you're very good at bargain shopping.
I'm very good at bargain shopping.
Like he looks like $1 million, but he
definitely did not.
He only spent like $5. He's Macklemore of the fall, pretty much.
Yes.
What's the racetrack of the NASCAR series that you really want to go to?
Bristol was actually Dover or Loudon, maybe. And we did Bristol. That one I was looking forward to. I had been able to race it in the late model last year, so I'd been there already, which it's super cool. I mean, every time you just walk in there, it's mind-boggling. It's so awesome. But I think Loudon would be pretty cool, and that's a northern race as well for me. Mm-hmm. And then Dover is going to be unique because it's basically Bristol on steroids, kind of. Yeah. So that should be fun.
Like add 30 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a driver. Never really driven on a circle track, but my iRacing career, Driving at Dover on iRacing even scares me because you drop off into the corners. It's just like I couldn't imagine doing that.
We need to go back to Spencer's house.
Yeah, we do, and run Dover.
Yeah.
They say K&N qualifying there is, I don't know if it'll be any different with a radial. If anything, it'll probably be better because you won't see as many blown tires, I would think, because that was a problem at most of the races actually with K&N, like Bristol and Dover. They had some tire issues, which you kind of, it's hard not to on a bias ply and stuff at those places. They're so demanding. But they were saying qualifying at Dover and K&N car was wide open. That's what I've heard from everyone who's done it in the past. Like I think it was Harrison was telling me he qualified 4th last year, and he said he never lifted. He said I never lifted off the gas. I still qualified 4th.
I mean, he might be telling you that too. So then you go out there and you don't let him.
I've heard it from multiple people though. I'll test it out in the mock run and see what happens.
Exactly. Or just listen. Yeah.
Hopefully, it's not like Bristol. We get more than just 1 hour practice session because then we'll be able to make a mock run. We weren't able to at Bristol, and it hurt a lot of people, including us.
The weather's so bad. Past couple of years, the weather's been so bad. But I think you're going to kind of fall into the old MTJ where you're going to have like 10 home tracks. Being from up in New England. So MTJ kind of has the deal where, and it's kind of become a thing on Reddit and Twitter, to where if it's grown so much because they said that New Hampshire's his home track, Dover's his home track, Richmond's his own track, being in New Jersey, Watkins Glen, like Pocono, like they all become, and then now they're saying like Vegas because of Furniture Row. So now everywhere he wins, it's like MTJ wins Texas, his home track. Like it's
and the fact that he can dominate on all sorts of disciplines is kind of another thing.
Added bonus.
Yeah. Road course, 1-1. Plates, yep. Super speedways, 2-milers, all that.
Charlotte, 600, going to lead all but 2 laps.
And then he dominated Fontana a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. He's
probably should have won this past weekend.
Yeah, he took a look at Texas. That wasn't good. Something broke or something happened on that car. And he's been having a lot of bad luck here recently. They haven't been as dominant as they used to be. So don't know if it's something to do with that. Gibbs Alliance has gotten a little stretched since he won the championship. But he's still able to do it. Who did you really look up to? Because you said that you were a fan of racing. Who was your favorite driver when you were coming up? And you're allowed to not say Dale Jr.
Oh, I was going to say him. Oh, that's what, when you were talking about putting on the suits that says Junior Motorsports, that was one of the craziest things is like, he's someone I looked up to like my whole life. I mean, I just think he's an incredible representative of the sport and just, such a great role model, honestly. Mm-hmm. So like when that opportunity came about and then like the first time I met him, it was just like.
What was that like? Where were you at? Because I know you remember everything about it.
This is a good one.
I think the first time was their season kickoff luncheon they had, and I remember they have all the drivers sit up on the stage and in front of all the employees, and they do like a Q&A and whatever. And I remember I had the worst voice crack ever, and it even happened at the end of the year at the Christmas party. So I was like, I thought I got that out of the way because at this point I knew everyone, so there was no reason. That was probably just happened. But the first time it was definitely because nerves, because I was like, oh my god, like Elliott Sadler, Justin Allgaier, you got Dale Jr. standing right next to me. And then Josh, that was cool to race with him because I raced against him when I was with Lee and them. And I knew, everyone knows Josh Berry in late models. So to be teammates with him was cool. And then it was just like all these people around me at once is wild. It was so cool. And then I was able to get to know most of them. And, they're all super cool people. But that first time it was surreal. Because the year before that, we had gone to Junior Motorsports as fans. Like, literally just before, like my mom, dad, and I, like it was a rainy day or whatever. I think one of our races got rained out. And we're like, let's just go, tour some of the shops. Like we had nothing else to do because we were still like just flying down from home, staying in a hotel. So we went there and everything, and went in the shop and like you look through the glass in the Xfinity shop, and then not even a year later, like I meet him, I'm in there, I'm upstairs, I'm talking to the guys in the Xfinity shop. It's like it's just crazy.
The race car has your name on it.
Yeah, it's wild.
I mean, that's like.
It's a dream, like honestly. There's no other way to put it. It's
like you're in like a dream. It's like a daze. You're just kind of like can't realize all this is going on. Have you asked him to sign anything yet?
No, I did not. But he follows me on Twitter though, so that's like
That's big.
that's big. I think that's huge right there. It's pretty cool.
Well, he always said that once he retires, he's going to kind of step back and do stuff like Xfinity and late model racing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool that he's still. I mean, that's still what he's all about. You know, like he's done having the professional career. He just wants to go play now.
Yeah, because he could have easily been burnt out and said, you know what,
Done with everything.
I'm out. Like, I'm not, like, he has to have a bathroom in his hauler, so, because he can't go to the bathroom
Right.
without getting stopped. Like, it's so bad. But, I mean, at the same time, it's good for him, it's good for the sport. And he was able to do it on his own terms, too, which was good. And he's still running some nationwide races this year, right? Didn't
I
they?
think he has an
Richmond.
Xfinity race at Richmond, the next race.
Yeah, I was going to
that
say, I
they
thought
have
they
there.
just announced that they were doing that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But yeah, him doing it, I'm more okay with him doing it than, like, I hate to say, I'll say it like this: current NASCAR Cup drivers running in the Xfinity Series. I'll just put it like that, because everyone's
Bristol
like,
was a great race.
yeah,
Without
yeah, because it gets lost in the fluff of having that person there, and really at the end of the day, someone has to win. You know, if Kyle's not winning, if you put a good enough kid in that car, they'll win. And the sponsor's going to get just as much as exposure as they would if not.
Sam hadn't driven anything for like 8 months, like anything, and hopped in at Iowa and went and dominated in
Yeah.
that 54 car.
Yeah, those cars like held there for a while. What was it that one year the 18 car had like 9 different everyone that
Yeah.
drove it won. So it was
Dakota was the one who broke that, and he ended up finishing 5th and
Yeah.
was going to finish 4th if he had another lap.
So it just shows that the equipment's good. So it doesn't matter who's in it. So why did they have to be in it? Like, the car's still going to win.
I feel like it's a double-edged sword from a driver perspective, because one half you're like, okay, well, it makes it 10 times harder for me to win, you know, and it could be frustrating, I guess, for a lot of them. You know, when you come up short, you know, you finish second. Or look at Ryan Preece his first race last year, which was Loudon. He finished second to Kyle, so he probably would have won that one. But then,
Bingo.
you know, he got it back at Iowa. But that's a perfect example.
Bingo.
And it's like, oh, could have just won in my first one. But at the same time, I feel like from a driver perspective, you're never going to learn as much as you do running second to someone like that. You know, like,
That's true.
because it's tough. You didn't win, and you know, get all that exposure and all that, and you learn a lot from winning races and kind of build momentum and all that. But when there's someone better than you, you just can learn so much more. I mean, you could be you could take it in one way and be frustrated that you're getting outrun by someone, or you can be like, this guy has a billion times more experience than me. Why not like see what he's doing, follow him around, try to learn from him, and just
Figure out how to beat him.
yeah. And then that probably helped him when he, you know, in someone like Ryan Preece's case, you know, he runs second to him, and he learned, you know, I mean, maybe he did all he could and he finished second. I mean, it is Kyle Busch, you know, compared to the experience he had in the Xfinity Series. But then he goes on to Iowa, and he probably learned a lot from running behind Kyle.
Yeah. But I think it was Corey LaJoie that said, he's like, yeah, having Kyle Busch is in there, and they're like, oh, you're really going to learn something from having him in there. It's like, how? He's a lap ahead of me. Like, he's
that's
like I only see him
that's
like
true also.
twice, and he goes boom by.
Yeah.
It's like, what am I learning?
It's true
You
also.
know, I'm not. It'd be better for me to sit at home and watch it on TV. But I think that you do get kind of that Tiger Woods effect, because there was a study that they did that people that played golf when Tiger wasn't there, they didn't play as good as when he was there. So the Tiger effect was when he showed up, everyone played better, because then they knew that they had to.
Yeah.
Because Tiger's here. So if you say Kyle Busch is running this race, like, you circle that one, like, okay, like, our shit has to be on. We have to be more than perfect, and he has to have a mistake for us to be able to beat him. So it's
Brings out the best in you, but
Yeah.
it's also
But it's the double-edged sword. So you say, what would you rather have? Would you rather have, oh man, I learned a lot and we did the best we could, but at the end of the day, he's Kyle Busch, or we're in victory lane. So I think it's starting to turn to where the tracks say, well, we need the all-star people there. We need the stars. We need that to drive ticket sales and sponsors and stuff like that. But I think names are made here type of thing. Like, you need those names to be made. So you need to get the big names out of the way
This is obviously a comparison from a lower level, but it was like me running alongside Josh Berry last year. Because, I finished second in the Bobby Isaac. I honestly think I would have won that race if he wasn't there. And there's probably a couple others I would have won if he wasn't there. Mm-hmm. But I also don't think that every time I ran second to him or every time, he beat me, it hurt me as far as the experience I've gained. Because, I still would have learned stuff. It wasn't like I was just out there making laps. But when you have a veteran there that you can... It's like the Cars Tour itself. Every race you go to with Deke McCaskill and Josh Berry and, Tommy Lemons, Lee Pulliam, all these guys... That's like sometimes you look at it and you may be in the race and they're running 1, 2, 3, 4 and you're in fifth and you're like, well, I'm the highest rookie, but I want to be up there racing these guys for the win. But at the same time, you just gotta that's when you're going to learn the most. When you can keep up with them and not only prove that you could race with them, but you can learn so much from them. And I feel like that helped me a lot last year. By the end of the year, like I got when you see sometimes you plateau at certain points, and I just kept progressing and getting better and better every week. And a big part of that was, not only just being more competitive and learning so much, but it was because I was learning from those guys. I went from beginning of the year running, right behind them or run a little bit behind them to right behind them on their bumper to with them to beating them. I mean, and by the end of the year, like you belong there. Mm-hmm. And I think that helps a lot. Now at a level like that, where it's even more crucial to perform, to take advantage of opportunities like in the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series, I do understand why it makes it so challenging, because a lot of those scenarios when you only have a certain amount of starts you get to make with a team, you're trying to make the most of them. And when you come up short because there's a cup driver or someone who's been doing it for way longer than you, it's frustrating because unfortunately sometimes obviously we're all out there to win and you're never satisfied with second, but sometimes it gets taken away, just all about the winner, and people who didn't watch the race or see it or anything, they hear someone finish second or something, but they didn't see that they maybe dominated the race or something, but they came up short because they got, out experienced at the end or something. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's like goes back to what we were talking about, that double-edged sword.
I think your opinion kind of fits the theme. Your whole theme that you have that we've talked about is your ability to learn and gain experience and pay attention to what's going on. Really, that fits that answer of like, yeah, you want the Cup guys to be there because you want to learn from them. So, and you see where the bar is, and that goes right back to all the other stuff that you were saying. That's what makes you good, is your ability to learn and pick up from those guys. And then at the same time, like when I was lucky enough to win the Snowball Derby with Eric, we were 10 laps on the outside of Kyle Busch, and he was able to get past him and beat him. And what happened? He raced his way right into a seat, and
here we are.
Yeah, here we are. Now he's on the 20 car. That was 2012, so that was 6 years ago. So he went from driving a late model against Kyle Busch, beating him, and then 6 years later,
in one of the best Cup cars possible.
Yeah, he took over for Matt Kenseth. And then before that, it was Joey Logano. And then before that, it was Tony Stewart's car. So that's a hell of a car to be in. So had Kyle not been there, would he have gotten the exposure? Would Kyle have taken the chance with him to be actually? So he had the best seat in the house because he was on the outside passing him. So had Kyle not been there, would he not gotten the shot? You don't know. So
it's true.
It's a multi-edged sword. That's what we're going to call it, a multi-edged sword. And I don't think that there's a set answer. It's just whatever they decide to do. I think they keep kicking them out more and more. So we'll see where it goes. But thanks for coming on, dude.
I appreciate you guys having me. It was a blast.
Yeah, that was just past an hour. So
it didn't feel like it.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, it flies by. What's your social media?
My Instagram, my Twitter are both Anthony F. Alfredo. I had to put my middle initial in there because Anthony Alfredo was taken somehow. I didn't know anyone else had that name, but I guess so. A lot of people in the world, so.
Yeah, but I like the F in the middle.
Yeah. Anthony F. Alfredo.
Yeah.
And then my Facebook racing page is at Anthony Alfredo Racing.
Okay.
And then, those are my main three. And then if you want Snapchat too, it's just Ant Alfredo, A-N-T Alfredo.
Okay.
Very thorough. Not surprised. Your attitude's a huge breath of fresh air for everybody in the sport. So keep on keeping on. And Good luck with finals. I know
Thank
I'll be
you.
doing the same thing very shortly.
He is never going to graduate. Never.
I mean, it's a couple weeks, right?
I think, but he's graduated like 3 or 4 times. He keeps going back to school and he keeps telling me, he's like, yeah, we're done. Yeah, I'm finished.
Yeah, this is graduate, so this should be the final.
Yeah, like
this should be
I won't
final
go
round.
to I won't go to a classroom unless they're paying me to be there. I've had enough.
I'm a freshman and I've had enough.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how you feel.
Oh, that's awesome.
Painful.
All right, dude. Good luck the rest of the year. Thank you for coming on. Good luck. You can find us at Young and Pruitt on Twitter and Instagram.
You can find me at Tall Guy Turbo on Twitter and Instagram.
He always messes that part up.
Always.
And you can find me at JackmanZack on Twitter and Instagram. For Anthony Alfredo and the Young and Pruitt podcast, thank you.
Thanks, guys. See you.
Thank you.